Welcome to today's history tutorial. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating story of the Ndebele state in Zimbabwe, from its origins in South Africa, through its rise under King Mzilikazi, to its fall under colonial invasion. The Ndebele state is one of the most important parts of Southern Africa's pre-colonial history, showing how migration, leadership, and resilience shaped a powerful kingdom that left a lasting legacy on the region. 1. Origins of the Ndebele people. The Ndebele people trace their origins to KwaZulu-Natal in present-day South Africa. They were originally part of the Nguni-speaking groups under the rule of King Shaka Zulu in the early 19th century. One of Shaka's military leaders, Mzilikazi Kamashobane Khumalo, broke away from the Zulu kingdom around 1820 after a dispute with Shaka. Fearing Shaka's wrath, Mzilikazi led his followers, then known as the Khumalo clan, on a long journey northward. This migration became part of a larger regional movement known as the Mfecane, or Difakan, meaning the scattering, or the crushing. Migration northward. Mzilikazi and his people traveled through various territories, conquering and absorbing smaller communities along the way. They moved first into the Highveld region of South Africa, where they came into conflict with both African groups and white settlers, including the Boers, Voortrekkers. After facing military pressure from the Boers around 1837, Mzilikazi led his people north across the Limpopo River into present-day Zimbabwe, where they finally settled around 1840. 3. The establishment of the Ndebele state in Zimbabwe. Upon arrival, Mzilikazi settled his people in the southwestern part of Zimbabwe, between the Gwai and Shangani rivers, an area rich in grazing land and resources. The capital of his state was established at Bulawayo, meaning the place of slaughter. Mzilikazi created a highly organized state modeled on the Zulu system, but adapted to local conditions. He introduced military regiments, amabutho, age-grade systems, and centralized authority under his rule. The Ndebele society was divided into a ruling class of Nguni origin, who formed the military and leadership structure. Absorbed groups Holosi or Sotho Tswana origin, who became part of the Ndebele nation. Local Shona-speaking communities, who were integrated through tribute and allegiance. 4. Political and social organization. The Ndebele state was a centralized monarchy. King Mzilikazi was the supreme ruler, holding both political and spiritual authority. Below him were Indunas, chiefs, who commanded military units and oversaw provinces. The society was organized into regimental villages, izigaba, where young men were trained as soldiers. Tribute was collected from subordinate chiefs and surrounding Shona communities, which strengthened the Ndebele economy and influence. Socially, the Ndebele were united through a strong sense of loyalty to the king, and discipline was maintained through a well-defined system of law and custom. 5. Economy of the Ndebele state. The economy was based on cattle, which symbolized wealth and status. The Ndebele also practiced subsistence agriculture, growing crops such as sorghum and millet. Through raiding and trade, they obtained goods like iron tools, grain, and livestock from neighboring groups. Trade networks extended to the Portuguese in Mozambique, where ivory and cattle were exchanged for guns and cloth. 6. Relations with neighboring peoples. The Ndebele dominated the surrounding Shona states, demanding tribute in the form of grain, cattle, and labor. While some Shona communities resisted, others became allies or subjects of the Ndebele king. However, these raids later contributed to tensions between the Ndebele and other groups, as well as with European missionaries and traders who exaggerated stories of brutality to justify colonization. 7. The death of Mzilikazi and rise of Lobengula. King Mzilikazi died in 1868, and after internal succession struggles, his son Lobengula became king in 1870. Lobengula proved to be a wise and strategic leader who sought to preserve Ndebele independence amidst growing European interest in the region. He moved the capital to a new site, Bulawayo, and established diplomatic relations with British and Boer traders. But European settlers were increasingly drawn to rumors of gold in Matabeleland and Mashonaland. 8. The British South Africa Company and the fall of the Ndebele state. In 1888, Lobengula signed the Rudd Concession with representatives of Cecil John Rhodes, unknowingly granting extensive mineral rights to the British South Africa Company, BSAC. This concession was later used as a legal basis for British colonization. By 1893, tensions between the Ndebele and the BSAC escalated into the First Matabele War. The British used superior weaponry, including the Maxim gun, to defeat the Ndebele forces. Lobengula fled north and died in 1894, marking the collapse of the Ndebele state. A few years later, in 1896 to 1897, the Second Matabele War, or First Chimurenga, erupted as the Ndebele and Shona rose together against colonial rule, but the uprising was brutally suppressed. 9. Legacy of the Ndebele state. Although the Ndebele kingdom was destroyed, its legacy endures in Zimbabwe's cultural and political history. The Ndebele people preserved their language, traditions, and identity, contributing significantly to the diversity of modern Zimbabwe. The state established by Mzilikazi and Lobengula remains a symbol of resistance, unity, and statecraft in southern Africa, a reminder of the strength and complexity of African civilizations before colonization. Conclusion: the story of the Ndebele state is one of courage, vision, and endurance. From Mzilikazi's daring migration to Lobengula's struggle against imperialism, the Ndebele carved out one of the most remarkable kingdoms in pre-colonial Africa. Their history teaches us about leadership, resilience, and the impact of colonial encounters, lessons that continue to resonate in Zimbabwe and beyond.